The invention of the first airplane in 1903 has shaped our world today in many ways, from giving access to fast transportation around the world to shaping many historical events we know today. Today, we will be exploring how the innovation of airplanes over the past century has shaped international relations and modern interconnectedness. The concept of flight was first introduced in 1505 by Leonardo da Vinci's book, Codex on the Flight of Birds. Then, later in 1809, Sir George Cayley introduced the concepts of aerodynamics and the airplane in his book on aerial navigation. As technology became more developed and engines became more revolutionized, the idea of an airplane didn't seem so impossible. Therefore, in 1903, the Wright brothers were first successful in creating the first airplane that was flown for 59 seconds in the airspace of North Carolina. It wasn't long before their invention would go international. 8 years later, the nation of Italy would attack the Ottoman Empire, resulting in the Turkish-Italian War that would last 1 year. During this war, Italy would transform the airplane to become militarized for the first time. Airplanes would be used for bombing and reconnaissance missions to aid Italy in winning the war. The role of the airplane expanded significantly over the following decades. By 1915, the U.S. had begun to regularly utilize airplanes for the delivery of domestic mail and small packages. This innovation facilitated more efficient communication and enabled individuals to connect with greater speed. Moreover, in 1914, the first commercial passenger flight took place, covering a distance of 23 miles from St. Petersburg, Florida, across Tampa Bay. This flight, which carried the mayor of St. Petersburg for a fare of $5, marked the inception of an industry that would experience substantial growth over the ensuing century. World War I significantly advanced airplane innovation. Many countries scaled up production and militarized planes for specific missions. For example, like in the Turkish-Italian War, airplanes were used for reconnaissance and bombing, although their effectiveness was limited by structural constraints. Later in the war, synchronization gears enabled the mounting of machine guns, facilitating air-to-air combat. Allied nations including Germany and the Ottoman Empire collaborated to share technology for militarized aircraft production. The war revolutionized military strategies, introducing a competition for air superiority, and spurring innovations in the aircraft structure and integrity. These advancements brought extensions beyond military use. In June 1919, a modified British Vickers Vimy bomber completed a 16-hour transatlantic flight from St. John's, Newfoundland to Count Galway, Ireland, making the event of international air travel. This flight significantly reduced the time to cross the Atlantic. Average time to get from Europe to North America by boat would be 5 to 7 days at that time. This flight demonstrated the great potential for enhancing connections between Europe and North America. After demonstrating the success of this flight, Lucky Lindy further proved the possibility of transatlantic flight by flying from New York City to Paris, two major hubs. Connecting two massive hubs demonstrated the potential of airplanes in commercial travel and the start in the aviation industry. World War II brought significant advancements to aviation. The competition to build superior air forces spurred innovation, leading to enhanced piston engines, radial and turbo supercharged engines, which allowed planes to fly faster and higher. By the war's end, the first jet engines emerged, revolutionizing aircraft. Radars were introduced to detect enemy planes, and the invention of pressurized cabins allowed for the development of advanced bombers, which largely influenced geographical borders and land ownership. In the Pacific theater, airplanes took on new roles. In the events of Pearl Harbor, the sheer force of air superiority was demonstrated as the Japanese bombers were setting the stage for conflict between the US and Japan. With the recent introduction of aircraft carriers, airplanes became key to winning the war in the Pacific. Seeing the significance of aviation technology in the war, nations started to dedicate more time and resources towards development. Better technology meant more air superiority. As a result, countries started to keep their technology secret from their enemies to maintain a competitive edge. Meanwhile, with their allies, they would even share or even collaborate together to gain an advantage. During the growing era of aviation, the increasing number of airplanes required international regulations and standards for air transport. In December 1944, amidst World War II, 52 nations met in Chicago to form the International Civil Aviation Organization, tasked with creating these standards. Beyond operational concerns, the ICAO also worked on diplomatic relations regarding aviation. Today, the ICAO continues to address environmental issues such as airplane emissions and sustainability. Although the Chicago Convention and the ICAO successfully governed international air transport, they did not fully address the needs of airlines. Thus, in 1945, the International Air Transport Association was founded in Havana, Cuba, representing 57 airlines from 37 countries at that time. This association aimed to implement financial systems for commercial travel and set standards for aviation operations and safety, collaborating closely with the ICAO. By 2023, IATA represented 317 airlines from over 120 countries. The introduction of jet engines towards the end of World War II significantly enhanced commercial air travel. In 1949, the first jetliner, the de Havilland Comet, was developed by a British company. Featuring other wartime technologies such as pressurized cabins, this jetliner allowed intercontinental travel in hours rather than days. This innovation marked the start of the jet age in commercial aviation and paved the way for future advancements in jet airliners. The introduction of the Comet spurred competition among other countries to develop their own jetliners. Following the grounding of the Comet due to structural flaws in 1954, the U.S. aircraft company Boeing developed the first 707. It was a much safer, faster, comfortable, and a much more efficient aircraft. The 707's performance raised the standards for commercial jets, and its large distribution in the world contributed towards making the world more interconnected. Seeing the success of the U.S. companies Boeing and McDonnell Douglas, European nations decided to collaborate to create their own aerospace giant. The governments of France, Germany, and the UK, and later Spain, decided to combine the companies to establish Airbus. Each nation was responsible for engineering and manufacturing a part of a plane. Their first project was the A300, which began in 1969. The large success of Airbus today demonstrates the major achievements resulting from international collaboration. During the development of the Cold War in the 1970s, the U.S. military started to implement a network of satellites for global positioning system, also known as the GPS. It allowed to pinpoint any location on Earth within 12 inches. The system was implemented in airplanes for improved navigation, making it easier to explore new areas and reduce travel times. Another major innovation made to planes during the Cold War period was the transition to electronic systems and fly-by-wire technology. Not only did it improve existing control systems, but it allowed for the introduction of new technologies such as stealth and radar. This started a new era of military weapons and tools, including advanced reconnaissance aircraft, fourth-generation fighter jets, and unmanned aerial vehicles. For example, one of the notable spy planes emerging in the Cold War was the SR-71 Blackbird, which featured sophisticated sensors and cameras for reconnaissance and advanced stealth technology to avoid being seen by the advancing radars. Such advancements to spy planes and UAVs resulted in international tensions, specifically involving the Soviet Union and the USA. Spy planes would often violate airspace regulations, leading to both sides applying various tactics to try to outsmart each other. Both sides attempted to get their hands on each other's technology and secrets, leading to a massive competition. Additionally, the intel gained from these aircraft included the knowledge of nuclear arsenals and other military bases or equipment. This ultimately fueled the arms race and mutually assured destruction, as both the Soviet Union and the US grew their technology to outcompete each other. Both superpowers will also try to create the better fighter jets to gain air superiority, resulting in the development of an entirely new class of fighter jets, the fourth-generation fighters. These fighters feature more advanced jet engines, avionics, stealth, and increased versatility. They have been used in almost all international military conflicts, inflicting massive change and destruction. They are even used today in events such as the Israel-Palestine and Ukrainian wars. In the 21st century, countries aim to establish their military dominance in the world by having the most advanced weapons. The US, being one of the nations looking to assert its dominance in international relations, has started the development of advanced fifth-generation fighter jets. The U.S. introduced the first fifth-gen fighter, the F-22, in December 2005. It is still one of the most air-superior aircraft to this day, and it features the best stealth technology along with the best air superiority capabilities. In 1994, the Joint Strike Program was initiated to create a versatile fifth-generation fighter. Many allying nations of Europe, Canada, and the US collaborated to create the F-35 jet. It is one of the most used fifth-generation jets to this day around the world, and it represents how a drive for innovation can bring together many nations for one cause. The rapid development of the fifth-generation jets has created competition around the world, most notably between the USA, Europe, China, and Russia. Recently, China and Russia released their own versions of fifth-gen jets, adding to the competition and the innovation of aviation as a whole. The issue today is that most of the innovation in airplanes is resulted from competing international relations. Instead, international collaboration should be used to innovate aircraft in a way that will benefit the environment and the people, not cause destruction. For example, the ICAO is currently creating more standards and regulations regarding airplane emissions, forcing manufacturers around the world to produce more efficient aircraft. This example demonstrates how international relations can be used for innovating aircraft for the benefit of the environment and society. If more such actions take place, we can direct airplane innovation towards a more sustainable future, not a destructive one. At the end of the day, the Wright brothers created the airplane with a vision to connect the entire world, not to destroy it.